Hello. Welcome to Media Queen TV. We have some amazing guests with us today. It's all about the business of smiles. And we have a big smile here, of course. We want to see you smiling. Hopefully you're smiling watching this today. Our intention is to have you smiling a lot because generally speaking, not enough people do it. Not enough people smiling out there. Particularly I notice in the big cities, people walk around very miserable looking. And I'm even starting to see it in some country towns, etc. lately. So we have Alan Stevens, who's known as Papa, and we have Scott Carson, known as Scotty, and hopefully joining us shortly, we'll have James Short or Shorty joining us. He's been having a few internet issues. However, hopefully we'll see him through this stream. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Hello. Great to have you with us. So tell us, what is this business of smiles all about?
Do you mind if I go here, Papa?
Yeah, definitely. Go for it, Scotty.
What is the business of smiles about? Well, we're basically walking the street saying thank you to people for doing their best right now. We're reconnecting communities. We're seeing people that need to be seen. We're touching hearts. We're creating connection in a time of so much disconnection. At the end of the day, we're just putting smiles on our faces. Mine, yours, and the people we meet.
Nice.
Because we're worth it. You know?
Yes, we are worth it. You're worth it watching this right now. We are worth it. In fact, you're 1 in a billion just by being born. Did you know that? You beat about 1 billion swimmers to get to the finish line. Okay, depending how excited your parents were at the time of conception, that you are amazing. And often we forget that, don't we? Forget how amazing we are. And we tend to be quite hard on ourselves, particularly in Australia, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, very much so. I'm going to jump in here, Papa. Sorry for a second. But I've never met anybody who hasn't added value to my life. Right? I'm going to repeat that. I have never met anybody who hasn't added value to my life. And I've walked the streets. I talk to people sleeping rough. I talk to people numbing themselves with meth or any opportunity. I walk into a situation where most people are uncomfortable. But I find comfort in there because I know that people are doing their best. I know that people only ever make a decision to make the right decision. Nobody ever makes a decision to go, do you know what? I'm going to make the wrong decision today because that'll be the right thing to do. You know? Yes. So knowing that gives me great strength and courage to be able to go and sit with people who sometimes just need to be seen.
So
we
true.
live in such a wonderful world where the most important gift we have to give to each other is our presence. Yeah.
Yes, I like that. Would you like to add to that comment there, Alan?
Well, definitely, because we've interviewed and sat and talked to so many people over the years. Nobody has had the same story as anybody else. Everybody is completely different to everybody else. In my work, I know that there's no two people who've got the same personalities on the planet. So everyone's got a story, and everybody's story has got value because it's theirs. And, I think in some ways, I think you'd agree with this, Scott. You and I are very selfish people, the same as James. We get to sit and listen to people tell their stories. And we have that, they actually sit there and think highly enough of us to actually tell their stories, to be in that position. Talk about feeling grateful to hear their stories. So the people who are listening to this and think that, well, I don't really have a story, I guarantee you do. Just sit down with somebody who will listen and share that story and watch the other person's face light up.
I love that, Papa. So I'll just jump in quickly because everybody has a story. And I think the most important story we need to own, bar none, is our own. Because if we don't own it, then something or someone else needs to be paying rent for the space they occupy. Okay.
Yes.
Those that have the courage to step into owning their own story don't have to project it onto other people to get justification in what they're doing. Owning your story allows you to listen and learn other people's. It is the single most valuable thing I think you can do as a human, is to know who you are.
And it's really owning your life and all the ups and downs and the roller coaster ride of life, I call it, that we have through our lives. We have, I would say, multiple stories through our life. And so owning our life, our presence on the planet, exactly as we are, exactly as we're not, is incredibly powerful. And noticing those little conversations that can happen in the little hindbrain, monkey chatter that can happen, that can keep us small as human beings. And of course, in Australia, we have this invisible glass ceiling where it's all about rise to the middle here in Australia. And it's about getting conscious to where we're at with that. And are you beating yourself up unnecessarily? And I would say that most likely there are areas of your life that you possibly are beating yourself up and being hard on yourself. And particularly as a high achiever, I would say this is a big trap, I would say, for high achievers, because no matter how much you do, sometimes it can feel like it's never enough, right? Because there's always more to do. Even when you have a team, there's always more that can be done at any moment. And so how do you navigate that? Over to you, Scotty, for this one.
How do you navigate that? How do you, that's the question is, how do you navigate life, right? Because that's what you're experiencing.
Yes.
Just own it as your reality. And the one question that stumped.
Well, when the conversations come up, like if you notice conversations coming up, like, oh, I should be doing this, or could be doing that, or I wish I did this, or, those kind of things, which I'm sure you would have experienced at least once in your life, possibly as a human being.
Consistently, right? What should I do? What could I do?
Yeah.
But it's got to go back to one simple question. How important is it? How important is this to me?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. Because if you're not chasing your dreams, whose dreams are you chasing? How important is this to me? The one question I got asked that stumped me beautifully, and it stumped an entire room. Who am I?
Yes. Sounds like we've been in some of the same.
Can answer that question. Yeah.
We've been in some of the same seminar rooms, I think, Scotty.
100%. Well, it was actually Guy Winch at a David Goggins thing where I had the opportunity to train with him, and he asked the whole audience, and nobody could answer it. And that was profound to me, because I look at life and, who am I? What a question. I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm a community member, I'm a teacher, I'm an educator, I'm a mate. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm also an ex-party boy from London. I'm a steel fixer. I'm somebody who'll be there in your darkest hour. There's so many hats that we wear. There's so many things that we've learnt in life that make us who we are. None of those experiences are wrong if we utilize them as what they can be, a lesson. I sat here with the man, Papa, right? And I want to get on to how we met in a minute. But
yes,
when Papa asked me to be a part of his community, and he chose to support me, he chose to put me into his community and let me be me. I said, I'm going to have to get back to you, Papa. I picked up the phone the next day. I called Papa up and said, Papa, I've got a past. It's not pretty. And I'm worried about that affecting you and what you're doing going forward. Papa turns around at me and says, oh, this will get me a tear out of me, because this is the day that I could be me. He goes, are you that person? I said, yes, but not anymore. He said, I got your back. You've got this. Yeah? Imagine a world in which we just go, I accept you as you are. I accept you for the things you've done, because it's not who you're going to be.
Yes. Yes, the past doesn't dictate the future, right? And for a lot of people, it does. And so, again, it's getting conscious, isn't it, to seeing that. And thank you for sharing that. And Papa, I love Papa for Alan. I love that as a nickname for you, Papa. What you've created with the Campfire Project is extraordinary, I must say. So, for those who don't know about Campfire Project and how you actually came to meet and get on that, can you explain a bit about that, please?
Well, I realised, my business, I'm a profiler. I work with people to help them understand other people. And in that process, especially men, I was asking them what was, if there was a word that would describe how you felt about things. The word I heard most often was confused. Confused with what? And they said, well, at work, we used to talk in a certain way, and now with all the gender equality and political correctness, we're on tender hooks. We're always worried about saying the wrong thing. And at home, we thought our job, especially our baby boomers and Gen X, we thought our role was to go out and bring the resources in and look after the family. But now we're told we're physically, emotionally absent. And so I realised that was leading to that confusion, to frustration to anger, and in some cases, even domestic violence and bullying in the workplace. So I realised that you don't fix a problem by beating the problem up. If somebody's doing the wrong thing, you need to understand why. So I thought, right, if we had a safe place where men could come and tell their stories, just hold their space, no counselling, no advice, no criticism, no saying they were right or wrong, but just sit there and hold their space. So to be the eyes and ears that they haven't had before in their life. And I just sit there and listen to them, they tell their stories. So that started with the men in the group. But I've had women in there from day one because I didn't want it to be a men's group. Because so many men go off to it, they feel great, they go home. The so-called real world smacks them in the face again and they can't wait to get back to the men's group. And I thought, nah, we're not going to fix problems by pointing fingers at each other. We fix problems by standing shoulder to shoulder, hence the hashtag We Together. And in that, bringing people together to tell their stories. But once we started the one-on-ones, we moved into panel discussions, talking about drugs, alcohol, masculinity, femininity, you name it, we're into that. And that's when the women started sending me personal messages going, we love these guys. We've never heard men talk so deeply about their emotions and so wisely about things that are affecting the communities. Is there any way we can get involved? We've been waiting for it. So brought the women into the one-on-ones, into the panel discussions. And, the job as a leader is to make them self-redundant by seeing the gifts that others have got and helping them to become the best versions of themselves. Because I don't think it's a case of who am I? It's more a question we should be asking people is, who do you want to become? Because that one, we start to see who the person really is. Because ask Scott what he wanted to become, his face, his body, every posture, everything changed. And it was so easy to see in him the quality that he has that he couldn't see in himself. And so by doing that in the Campfire Project, we had all those people telling their stories. The women came into the conversations. We increased it into talking about menstruation, menopause. One very brave individual decided to have a panel discussion with 5 women on does size matter in the bedroom? It didn't, Scott. So, no subjects off the table, no subjects taboo. In that time, no bigotry, no sexism, no racism. Nobody's been disrespectful to anybody else. We've had around about 500 hours of one-on-ones and panel discussions. All genders, all cultures, all religions. Everybody is welcome to come in as long as they promise to be respectful to everybody else. And people say, why do we have to be respectful? Because if you're the one telling your story, how do you feel if somebody then starts judging you? Not going to happen. And so everybody then stepped up, and Scott stepped up, took on roles. We've got Angela Heiser and other people coming in and stepping up into roles, which means as a leader, I can step back, because I know that our job is to help other people come up and do what we're doing, but hopefully not just do it as good as we're doing it better than we're doing it. So I'm pretty confident with the quality of people we've got in the Campfire Project that that's happening. And that's why when Scott asked me to be part of the Business of Smiles with him, I was extremely proud and very grateful for that invitation.
Amazing. And how did you first come across Scott?
Scotty, you want to say one?
You go, Papa. I tell you go.
Well, we were in Sydney. Scott was up from Melbourne.
Yes.
I was down from Newcastle. We're in Sydney doing a workshop on public speaking and presenting. And through the course, we had to, we were all broken up into groups of 3. And one person of the 3 would go away and practice their talk they're going to give. And the one person would be the audience and the other one would be the one who told their story. Anyway, poor old Scott got teamed up with me. He's standing in front of me. He's looking at me for a while and he's checking me out. I'm with a nice jacket, trousers and everything else. And Scott's looking at me thinking, this guy's looking a bit on the pompous side, etc. I'm pretty sure. And he said, you're not going to like anything I've got to say. Well, That I thought, no, mate, this is going to be fun. I just, no expression, didn't respond to it, did not put any change on my face. I think I pretty much locked my eyelids, so I didn't even blink. And I just stared at him. They had to stand there for about several minutes until everybody else in the room, who were all in pairs, were ready to start telling their story. He then told his story. Then we had to be quiet while everybody finished. So another couple of minutes have passed. By this stage, I could see the watermarks underneath Scott's arms. His knees are starting, I could see them shaking. And I'm just staring at him. And he's just wondering what the hell is going to come out of my mouth. And when they said, you can critique, I just went, that was fantastic.
Oh, brilliant.
And we've been mates ever since.
Yeah. Well, look, and I appreciate that, Papa, because the one thing that makes that even more powerful is the fact that was the very first time I was actually owning my story.
Wow.
And something inside me said, I've got more to give. There's more that I want to do. There's more that I can provide for our community. I was already running a social health group for men, and I just felt so driven to do more that I put myself up to learn, and I'm an uneducated man in the eyes of society, or in my eyes, or depending on how you see life, right? I was on the streets at 14. I've had an interesting life, and I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for the opportunities that have been gifted me through life experiences, but to stand there in front of a man that was very professional, and me just being a bloke just trying to be his best version of himself, to own my story to someone I didn't think wanted to hear it, was so hard. But the power in owning my story has gifted me more opportunities to be the man I want my son to see. I work my backside off to be the best version of me, so he's got a target. Unfortunately for me, I look around, and because of the opportunities I've had working with men, I see people's pain. I see the opportunities that really hurt. So I'm going to make damn sure I'm just going to be the best version of me. So he's got a very clear target. Whether or not I don't expect him to be anything like me, I don't expect anything in that way. My job as a parent is to support him to be the best version of himself. Mm. But I give him a target, and he ends up somewhere on the board. Bonus, So we've gone from a moment in time where it was hard to own my story. It was hard to put that out there to somebody who's so professional when I'm not. Like if you followed any of our journey, Papa does all the tech because I'm just hopeless at it. Like I'm just not the man. You would think it's the other way around, but it's far from it. But here's the thing, right? I know my purpose. I lead with my heart up front. Fundamentally, I just care. And it's gone from this opportunity where I got to present to Papa. After that, and after we got through that and we talked about it, and we talked about presenting, and Alan told me his profile, I've gone, oh, God. So, even worse, I didn't have a lot of money. But I took him out for dinner for my last $100 because I wanted to thank a man who took the time to know me. And that investment in getting to know somebody, taking them out to sit down and have a meal with them, has led us to the opportunity of us sitting here today.
You never know where things may lead, right?
Yeah. Have a crack.
I'll just throw in on that as well, that's a two-way street. It's not just one way. Because, there was a gift in there for me, in getting to know Scott. And this is the thing I keep saying to everybody, and that, as Scott said, he wants to be the best version of himself. If we ask somebody, well, who do you want to be? I think you'd find that to be a similar answer from most people. They would say they want to be the best version of who they can be. As parents, we're not carpenters and we're not sculptors. Our job is not to turn our kids into something. Our job is, we're gardeners. Our job is to nurture them into the best version of themselves. To do that, we also need to be an example of that. And I sit here next to a man, I spend a lot of time with him, who does exactly that for his son, and he does it for his community. So what we're finding is that when you listen to other people's stories, you get involved in those, in their lives in that way, being just sharing space with them. It's a gift to us, and it becomes contagious, and everybody wins from it.
Yeah, I love that. And, I can relate to you, Scotty, saying you're on the streets since 14. I actually got kicked out of home at 15. However, interestingly, I grew up in a beautiful, loving household, very strict European parents, first generation Australians in Sydney. And I never felt I belonged. I was bullied as a kid. I used to watch a lot of negative news growing up, and that really impacted my view of life. My view of life was that it was really skewed, that people were cruel, that it was a nasty world out there. And this is what can happen when you're watching the news every single night for 2 hours, as I was with my father. And he was very, very strict. And so I rebelled from 13 to 15. I just rebelled. Everything my dad said to do, I did the opposite. And eventually he kicked me out of home. And if I was him, I would have kicked me out of home too at the time. But you know what? It was one of the best things that ever happened for me, because I realized the grass is not greener on the other side. And I moved into a crazy household with a drummer. His mum was an alcoholic. Sister was dealing drugs. We were partying every night. I went from ducks of my primary school to failing everything in year 11. And then 6 months into that turning point, I saw my boyfriend sleep with my best friend in front of me. And from that point, I said, I don't want to live like this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. And I called my mum in tears. I said, I can't handle this. She said, come home. Still didn't talk to my dad for ages. We both very stubborn. However, I then changed my environment. I changed schools. I went from Mossman High School to Forest High School in year 12, worked my butt off, got into a media degree and turned my life around. But, that low period I had in my teenage years, I am so grateful for that, because that absolutely strengthened me as the person I am today. And so I'm really curious, Scotty, about your story. What was it that led to you to be on the streets at 14?
Yeah, awesome. And it's interesting because, like, in life, your circumstances are your circumstances, and quite often when you're open about what happens, it causes pain for other people. For me, opening up about it caused a lot of pain for my mum. Right, because she felt like a failure, and she's not. Like, she kicked me out because I was a bloody rat bag. Like my parents got divorced. There was no strong male role model in my house. I was basically looking after my brother and sister. I was causing chaos. I was selling weed, for extra money at school to make ends meet. I've gone from playing baseball for Victoria to being on the streets within 6 months. So that's a fair change. Would I change that? No. I love who I am. I was sleeping in, garden sheds, benches, friends' houses, wherever I could. And eventually a family took me in, and they gave me another opportunity to see life differently. The number one thing that John did was just left me alone and was just there. Didn't make anything I did wrong. Just there. Gave me a safe environment just to try and work out who I am. And I'm going to go a bit sideways, but I think it's relevant. Stuff happens in life. Most of it you can't control. The only thing you can control is your response. Your circle of influence is a big thing. It's a big thing. A lot of the guys I grew up with and I was knocking around with didn't make it. Then that's a reality. These days I support suicidal men. I actually now work, my paid employment is actually supporting builders and tradies to be the best versions of themselves, give them a safe place to have a yarn, give them an opportunity to see things differently, give them a growth, help them create a growth mindset so that they can work through the problems they need to work through, because the building industry is doing really tough right now. We've actually got an app, the Builders Toolshed, where we can just have conversations, exactly what we do in the Campfire Project, exactly what we do in the Business of Smiles. Because I didn't have anybody to talk to. I didn't have anybody helping me process life. I just had to work it out. I made a lot of mistakes. Or I'd rather call them lessons to give me the growth I need to have. You know, like it's, if you know Melbourne, you know Victoria pretty well, you'll know Frankston. Frankston's, I love it. It's my home. I don't live there at the minute. I'm in Sandhurst, but that's my home. The methadone program got put into Frankston after the Frankston Council went broke, and they had to bring in some money. So the Victorian government gifted them the methadone program. So there's a lot of guys dealing with a lot of different stuff, numbing themselves. I'm so proud of those guys. What? Why am I proud of them? They know where they're at. It hurts. They front up every day. I get the opportunity to go and sit with them and say, hey, Sabu Bona, I see you. I get to gift them a pair of socks. Yeah. And we'll talk about these in a minute. I get to thank them for doing their best right now. Yeah. Why is that important? Why is that important? We live in one community. The lawyer, the doctor, the drug addict, the drug dealer, the baker, the children, the kindergarten teacher, the federal MP. We all live in one community. Every one of us affects another person. Yeah? The energy received from the guy numbing himself because he hasn't got the tools to deal with the opportunities that he's been through in life. He hasn't had the safe place to actually sit and process what needs to go on. That gets interjected into every person that walks past him. That gets interjected to every person that has to deal with him for him in order to get money. Every single person, their energy is put onto one another. And that's the community in which we live in. I think we're at a different time of life right now. Maybe I think a little bit different to most, but I think we're at an amazing time in the human experience. We are at a level of abundance never seen before. And it's not filling us up. So we're looking for different things. I guarantee you, if you find heart connection and you find your purpose and support and love, learn to love who you are, they are some beautiful rose-colored glasses to wear. You know, I'm the luckiest man on the planet. I get to walk up to people I've never met before and thank them for doing their best right now. I get to gift them a pair of socks with the support and the fuel that people gift us to go and do this because they value their communities. I get to go and sit and listen. I did a 41-kilometre walk with a guy who didn't want to be here, who came with me after we spent time together, and he wanted to commit suicide. Let's talk about it. Let's own it, right? Suicide. It's not an individual issue. It's a community issue. Until we treat it as one, it won't change. This beautiful human being that was working on himself because he found new tools to deal with different things he had to work with, did a 41-kilometre walk with me. We walked around and handed out over 150 pairs of socks just in our community. I walked past so many people, but the one story I want to share with you, the one story that is just so in my heart. Here's a guy that didn't exactly know how to talk to people, who's learning that he could talk to anybody because he's coming to him with thanks and wanting to learn them and not projecting his story onto somebody else. We walked past this lady. She's sitting on a park bench. You could see she wasn't comfortable. Hey, thank you for doing your best right now. Can I gift you a pair of socks? And they're not any pair of socks, these socks. These socks are changing the world. You'll see them. Papa, do you mind putting them up? So the black dots, they represent our dark days. We all have them. Nobody's getting out of that. But that yellow is that warm winter sun on your back on those winter days, right? That's your community and friends getting around you on your dark days. And I normally have black earrings on just in here because our dark days are between our ears. So let's talk about them. I shared this story with her and I said, how's things going at the minute? For the next half an hour, we sat there on that park bench and we just talked about things. She goes, actually, things are tough. She goes, I'm actually writing a letter right now and things are really tough. So we just listened. Anyway, we left, we walked on and, we spoke to another 140 odd people that day, all with their own individual stories, all with this important need for connection. Didn't think much of it. It's just part of what I do. This guy was just over the moon that he realized that he can communicate with people. You just got to step into it. Here's the kicker. 6 weeks later, I'm sitting down and having a coffee on a Friday, which I'm looking forward to getting back into in the next little bit, where people can just come and sit with me and have a yarn. This woman comes up. She says, oh, hey, Scott. I said, yeah. She goes, I just bought a pair of socks. And I'm like, that's so cool. So I said, can I get a photo? She said, actually, I'm paying it forward. I said, really? She says, yeah. I said, thank you so much. She goes, you don't remember me, do you? I said, no, actually, I don't. She goes, I was that lady who was sitting on the park bench. I'm still here today because you were there.
Wow.
Yeah. I wish that was the only story I had like that. But it's not. Right? Suicide is at record levels. We as humans need to see each other and embrace our pain and create safe places to just be, to have our stories. And the only way to do that is to learn one another, to understand one another. Own your story so you don't need to justify it when you speak to people. So you can sit and listen to theirs. Like, I am the luckiest man in the world. I get to sit with people in their pain. I get to sit with people and tell me their hearts, their pain, their real, authentic self. I am more human than I've ever been because I'm gifted that opportunity of presence. We all love gifts, yeah? We all love them. And the best presents we got is ours. Yes. and it's wonderful, like we are at a time in life, and I'm going to repeat this, that is unlike ever before. We're being challenged in new ways. We talked about the grass is greener on the other side. No. The grass is greener where we water it. Yeah. Yes. If we water our communities, we spend time in our communities, we spend time connecting with one another, we spend time learning one another, we're going to grow in a way we've never seen before. I recently had COVID, and I sat down during that time, and like most people have had it now, and whatever the opportunities are around that, I don't really fast. But I use that time to understand human nature. I understand, and I sat there and looked at wars throughout time. Wars throughout time. We as humans have used fear and control to dominate each other throughout time. I wonder what it would look like if we chose love, acceptance, and understanding. I wonder if we were brave enough to find out what support would do. Right now, I'm sitting here with you because we chose support. Unfortunately, Shorty's not here right now, and Shorty's my other front man inside the business of Smiles. And I tell you what, We met because of the Campfire Project through Alan Connectors. You two you guys got to meet. I'm sitting there having a yarn with this gorgeous guy that I've never met before, and we're talking about life and we're talking about the opportunities, really connecting. So actually, Shorty, I think I've got something I want to throw you. What's that? Okay, so I've got a big adventure I want to do. He goes, I'm in. I go, what? I don't even talk. He goes, no, I'm in. He goes, you're putting out so much good energy and heart. I'm in. I said, I want to run from Sydney to Melbourne. He goes, oh, I'm in. Right? I'm in. And since then, what was Sunday sessions? It was Sunday sessions, my social health group for men, where we used to get together every Sunday, 6 a.m., walk, jog, run together. I had up to 40 guys at different locations. It was wonderful. Got knocked on the head because of COVID, and people didn't want to get back up at 5 a.m. on a Sunday to get out and do things. This opportunity called the Business of Smiles came from a guy going, I'm in. I'm going to support you. I love what you're doing. I'm going to take a risk. I'm going to do that. Since that day, the connections were created because he chose to support an idea, a vision, because it felt good. It felt right. He trusted his instinct. We now get the opportunity to touch hearts everywhere we go. Everywhere we go. I know I've wrapped it on a bit at the moment, but I'm a passionate man, passionate about people. I'm passionate about humanity. I want to sit at the table of humanity. I want to help make the decisions based upon humans, because we haven't finished the human experiences yet. We're learning another dimension of opportunity, that our emotions have so much more to do with what we have as an output, right? This current pain of COVID and the opportunities that are going around with, they're here to teach us. They're here to give us a better version of ourselves. If we embrace that, if we find the way. I'm so excited about that.
So true.
It's time to reconnect. It's time to bridge the gap. The time is now. And we're doing it with a smile.
Can I just step in there as well?
Sure.
Before we mentioned about how we control each other with fear. The person we control the most with fear is ourselves. We're so worried about what other people will think. You've just heard Scott. You can see the passion. You can see how much he enjoys, how much he receives when he helps other people. But most of us are too fearful to go and talk to somebody because we don't want to acknowledge the stuff that they're going through, because then we may have to acknowledge some of ours as well. Now, there are 4 things that I look at when I'm profiling somebody, but 2 things in particular. One is that everybody is suffering or has suffered. The other one is that everybody is a combination of all their childhood experiences, both the tough times and the rewards and everything else. So when we look at that, everybody's got stuff. And the reason I think a lot of people don't want to listen to other people is because it hits them hard themselves. It starts them worrying about, am I good enough, etc. The whole thing is, we've said everybody's got their own story and every story is valuable. We're all on the mental health scale. It doesn't matter where we are, what sort of life we've had. It depends on the moment, the day that we're having, where we are on that scale. If we can appreciate that, if I sit down and I just listen to somebody else's story, and I can receive and feel as great as Scott has been showing that he feels, isn't that enough incentive for people to go, okay, maybe I need to just sit and listen to other people's stories? In that, then realize that, hey, a lot of the things that you're hearing from them, everybody's different. No 2 people have got the same stories. But the things that everybody they want to belong, they want to feel that they contribute, that they're valued, that they have a place. Their story outside of that will be unique to them. But everybody then realizes, hey, there is a connection that we all have, and that is the fact that we all want to belong. So if we stepped into that role and we went, right, I'll just hold somebody else's space and listen to their story, focus on theirs, not reflect back on mine, but just listen to their stories. As I say, you've got 2 eyes, 2 ears, and 1 mouth. Use them in that proportion. I've had people say to me, you've interviewed people on the Campfire Project and you've sat there for 45 minutes, you haven't said a thing. Have you been profiling them? No, I've done that in the first couple of seconds. I'm sitting there listening to their story, because if they're talking, I won't interrupt them. I won't ask them questions at that point. I'll just let them keep talking. The only time I'll ask questions is if they seem to be getting to the end of what they were talking about. And that I'm only asking questions so I understand them better. But while they're talking, their unconscious mind is controlling and guiding their conscious mind to what they need to understand. They come out of those conversations, and Scott, you found it the same yourself. They come out of those conversations and they go, that's the best therapy I've ever had. We go and listen to the video and see how many times I spoke. It was next to nothing. But when we do speak, we don't make statements. Somebody tells their story, do not jump in and try and fix their problem, because you're trying to fix your problem, not theirs, because you don't know what their story is until you've actually spent that time and listened to them. So by listening to them, and at the end of it, I say to people, look, ask all the questions you can think of, and then ask one more. And people go, how can you ask an extra question? You've asked them all. The last question I ask is, you've told me all this about yourself. This is what I've understood. Have I got it right? If they say, yes, you've got it right, they know I've been listening, and just watch the expression and the body posture that they have. It'll become more relaxed and everything else. At the same time, if I've got it wrong, we're in a discussion. That's a win as well. There's no loss in that process. But if I'm listening to them and I'm feeling uneasy about it, ask yourself what's going on in you that's causing you to feel uneasy. That'll be your story. So then find some time to have somebody who will sit down and listen to you and share that story, because quite often I realize it's hard to tell your story because, where do I start? What am I sounding like? But to have somebody who then can reflect back at the end of it, and you can actually see it in their body language, the amount they take notice and everything else, you know that somebody's actually heard you, and you know your story had an impact on them. Everybody who's listening to this, you have a story, and to not share it, you're actually robbing the people around you. So if you feel that you're a decent person, open up and talk to the right people. Share your story with somebody that you know you can trust, and be willing to tell your story, because we've all got stuff that goes back into our childhood. People say to me, Alan, what will you talk about? And I go, no subjects off the table. If I haven't lived it myself, I've had people close to me who have been through it. So I've been touched by it in one way or another. And once we realise that we've all got our stories, and, hey, I'm going to hear another version of somebody else's story, brilliant, I want to hear it. Because as Scott said, it brings me closer to the other person. And if we want to feel like we belong, that's one way of feeling like you belong real fast.
I love that, Papa. And I'm sorry to jump up and just shut the blind there, but basically I couldn't see you anymore, so I thought I'd come do that. And but here's
people would say, if you can't see me, that's a good thing.
Here's the thing, right? We're live, right? And that was becoming annoying to me. And basically I couldn't focus on the conversation anymore, so I had to get up and do that. Life isn't perfect. We try to do our best. Practice does not make perfect. Practice makes progress, right? If we aim to make progress, I was taught that by a 6-year-old boy, my son, right? And have a crack at owning your story, because once you start, you'll start, okay, well, that's right. That's right. That happened too. Okay, that happened too. All of a sudden, you're owning you. When Papa and I sit there and listen to people, and like we get the opportunity to learn the story, like it's profound, right? Because we see people, their shoulders drop. They're moving closer because they've got a little bit more gusto and a bit more confidence, right? But here's the thing. You can't just go and own your story to your mates. They don't know how to listen properly yet. You got to find somewhere to own your story. You got to find somewhere where people can listen to you and actually have listening as their skill. Because it's a skill. And I think in the modern society which has been created with the, like everything's shortened, everything's made very quick to get attention, to do this, and we're done with the attention. We can't take on much more. But what we can do is learn more about a situation. I love this opportunity right now. This is not a 15, 20-minute try to get everything out. We're going to talk for an hour. We're going to learn each other. We're going to learn how things came about. We're going to learn the stories that make a difference. We're going to connect to your heart because you get to know us a little. Our hearts are fuller because we're taking the time to learn one another. You know, and I'll talk for hours if I get the opportunity, but I just like it's. I think as I said before, I'm the luckiest guy on the planet because I get to know people. You know, I've got my old next door neighbor Maureen, and one of my most favorite conversations ever was between a Mormon, a Jehovah's Witness, and myself, talking about religion. I have no religion, right? Maureen was one of those. A 90-year-old woman with her electrician who was 40, and we're talking about religion. And we were learning from one another. We took the opportunity to, okay, so what's the similarities? Because I don't understand both your religions. Okay. So what are the differences? Okay. What do I need to learn about this right now to make this an even more interesting conversation? What do I need to learn that's going to make my life better? What's going to help me? What I learned in that moment is we can talk about religion if we provided the right environment to do that. Inside the Campfire Project, I've talked about does size matter with 5 women, talking about penis size. My opening question was, what does it feel like to have a penis in you? Right? Because I'm a bloke. I don't know. But because of the respect and the honesty and the heart that I put on the table, those 5 women gifted me the opportunity to stumble through that conversation. They gifted me. I don't do anything exceptionally well. I'm just prepared to do it. Yep, I'm prepared to have a crack and see where it goes. I'm prepared to be wrong so I can get closer to making progress. Imagine a world where we no longer put a red cross and a line through our things that can be improved, and we put a green L and go, what do we need to learn here? What is it? How do I improve this? How do I make progress right now? I think right now in our society, we need to put a big green L. What do we need to learn here? What do we need to do? How do we need to grow? What is it that's important to us? And we're learning. Geez, the amount of men that have been locked down and spent time with their kids and have gone back to work and gone, oh, this is just garbage. I miss my kids. When does that ever happen?
What's really important, right?
I'm so proud of men right now. So proud. Like right now, I'm in a cast, right? I've torn my bicep completely off my elbow, right?
Ouch.
Because I went back and played footy at 45.
Oh.
I want to tell you the story about that and why that happened. One of my mates is a coach of a local football club in Melbourne. Is doing an amazing job of supporting his players. These guys, the club nearly folded 2 years ago. There was so many opportunities, you know, and if you look at these blokes, you know, they're a bunch of blokes that have experienced life, right? So I was brought down there to have a yarn, to go and have a conversation with these guys and see if we can give them another way to look at things, give them a different set of eyes to see through. And I did this thing, and if you know Stephen Covey's work, he's got the young girl, old girl, and then you got the picture in the middle. And I divided the room, separated it, and went, you know, have a look at the picture. Half the room saw the young girl, half the room saw the old girl. Then we put the picture up. Half an hour later, after just starting the presentation, what do you see? And the room was divided. So now, aren't we looking at the same thing? Like, yeah, but it's young girl. No, it's an old girl. And it's about 10 minutes, to and fro. I'm like, what are you guys talking about? We're all looking at the same thing, right? But then we took the time to understand it. We took the time to understand what it was. What were the features? Why did you see that? What experience did you have that made that happen? There was frustration and anger in not understanding, in pointing their, projecting their views. When it comes to understanding, it's a whole different ballgame. Okay, so that's what you see. Okay, so now you feel understood. I'm understanding it. I'm curious. Then I was gifted the opportunity with the guy for him to share his story. I'm a professional in understanding people. I'm a professional at hearing stories and asking the right questions to get more out of that. I sat with him and we opened up his life. His deepest pain was put in front of 30 other men. What an opportunity. Every man was in each other's hearts. They'd gone from their heads to their hearts, and they were connected because a man was brave enough to own his real story. They live in my heart. And I thought to myself, how do I thank these beautiful men for owning their stories? And the conversations that I had after that with the other guys about their stuff and how they said, I'm here for you guys. You need to tell your story. I'm here. Let me help you. Because the number one thing that I hope you saw today was I was there to hold the space for him to own his story. You can't do that for each other. Find a professional who can do that so then your head's clear, so then you can gift that to your mate. Once you own yours, then you can gift it to him. So I'm in my heart. I'm going, how do I repay these guys? How do I let them know how much they meant to me? And they're playing the toughest game for the year that week. 3 weeks ago, and I'm like, they would maybe have enough numbers, maybe didn't. I'm like, giddy up. I'm going to come back. I'm going to have a crack at this. So I ran out on the footy field with them. Right. Okay. And I played as well as a 45-year-old bloke who's reasonably fit would play. and that accident happened in the third quarter, and I played on for a bit. And anyway, after the game, I thanked the boys, and a couple of guys that weren't there, I gifted them a pair of socks. But here's the kicker. After the game, those guys bought enough socks off me to allow me to gift them to other people. Because we charge $20 for these socks. They cost us $10. So every time somebody buys a pair, it allows us the opportunity to gift a pair on. Right? It allows us to continue connecting our communities. I had 2 of the players come with me into the opposition rooms where we gifted the opposition a pair of socks with purpose. And with their hearts, they told the story of the socks. In their eyes, that we all have dark days. Imagine a world where we could all tell each other we all have dark days and accept them. How do you go up to a friend? How do you tell a friend that you feel they're not going well at the minute? You know they're not going well at the minute. How do you go up to them and start that conversation? How do you approach it? You know what you do? You buy them a pair of socks, right? And you just say to them, thank you for doing your best right now. We all have dark days. You can feel how that feels right now. I'm not projecting my stuff. I'm just letting you know I'm here. I'm letting you know I have dark days too, but I'm here. You never know when that person's a lady sitting on a park bench. True. We are responsible for one another. We are a community. I don't want to hear that, I know they weren't well and I didn't know what to do. Yeah. That eats at your soul. Have the courage. Find me. I'll help you have that conversation. But it comes down to one thing. Just saying thank you for doing your best. I hope you can feel this right now. I have every intention that you feel me right now.
I'm feeling it.
Because that's how important we are. That's how important you are. Yeah?
Yes.
We are magical. But we can all ride unicorns if we do it together. Because let's aim for the moon, right? Let's aim for the moon. Because if we miss, we end up amongst the stars anyway.
Yes.
So I'll sit back a bit now because that's heavy to take on. but I want it to sink in. I want you to feel it, right? A pair of socks with purpose. It makes a difference, and you don't have to carry that emotion. We're about to run from Sydney to Melbourne in March, April next year. We're meant to do it this year, but somebody get ripped his bicep off his arm. And here's the thing: the run's the run. I expect that pain. I've got no problems with that. But I care about the stories that I'll share. That emotional weight that I'll carry will far outweigh the pain of the run. How much emotional weight are you carrying and gifting to other people? Be the light. Say thank you to someone who just needs to hear it today. Have the courage to step into that. Have the courage to touch a heart. More often than not, it'll be your own.
Beautiful. Wow. I love this sharing, and I love the fact, as men, both of you encouraging others to speak up and share their story, because this is something for a lot of men that they have not been able to share their story. They have not, I guess for guys, a lot of guys, they seem to, be seen to have it all together, right? And that they don't need help from anyone. They can handle it on their own, all that kind of stuff. And this is where we've seen a lot of depression, a lot of suicide rates, particularly with men in their early 40s. And in fact, 3 out of the 4 of my friends that have actually suicided, 3 of them were men in their early 40s, and one was a woman at 31 who had depression. And the thing is, we never know what people are going through, and I love that you give people the socks and say thank you for you doing your best right now. That is a really beautiful thing, to show that appreciation and that connection, and have them see that they're not alone, because that's one of the biggest things I've felt personally having depression in the past, is sometimes it can feel so alone. And in fact, I did a whole interview with a lady called Tracy Corman, and the topic was how to overcome abuse and depression, and we both shared our story. And the simplest things, the smallest things can change someone's complete trajectory. As you say, like you give them a pair of socks, and that person who may have not wanted to be here now want to be here because of that beautiful, kind gesture. And so my question here around this is, why socks, and why not sort of a headband or something else? Why socks?
Because they support our foundations.
Nice.
Right? Our feet are our foundations of the human experience. Right? I'm 6'1", I'm 100 kilos. I'm not a little unit, and I run. I run long distances. So my feet get smashed a bit. They're the foundations of me. So I spend good time looking after my feet. Socks are important. And like these socks, Swanky Socks made these socks. They're not cheap socks. They're quality socks, because if I'm going to gift you something, I'm going to gift you my best. And I'm going to do a bit of a plug, and I'm not sorry actually, because I need fuel to keep this mission going. I need fuel to make a difference. And here's the thing, right? If your community is hurting right now, I want to come. If you don't have the skills to listen and do it, we will come to you. We will come to your community. We will come and sit and listen. We have some of the most amazing human beings in our community. We recently went to Lismore, Mullumbimby, Evans Head, where we sat with those communities. I encourage you to go and see some of this stuff on YouTube. I encourage you to go and see the stuff in our Facebook groups and our personal pages, and see the difference we made by being present, and because of what we do, because we know how to listen, because we practice it, we work on it, we hone it. It is so heartwarming. I got to stand at Taki Taki with 4 other men that I've met through the Campfire Project and met through supporting one another. Taki Taki is a borer ring. I didn't know exactly what I was there to do. It's a very spiritual place. I was waiting to feel something amazing. The special thing was I was with 4 other men, so 5 men in total. Just being present, witnessing each other. sharing our hearts, supporting one another, supporting communities.
Where is that place you just mentioned? Where's
Alan?
Tucky is on the way to from Evans Head to Lismore, and getting close to Lismore. It's a site where boys would have been taken through from boyhood into manhood. And so it was significant for us to be standing there together and, as Scott said, sharing each other. And it was, it's like, because when you go from boyhood into manhood, you haven't just made it as a man. You've just started your journey, and the rest of your life is a journey as to what sort of a man you become. And so that was just another extension of what we've been doing. As Scott has said, when all the people that we spoke to and what they got out of it, what did we get out of it? A hell of a lot. It adds to who we are as men. It adds to who we are as human beings. And that then reflects back on what we can do for other people. It's we together, because everything's connected. And we can't get away from that. As they say, it takes a village to raise children. It's a community. One of the reasons I started the Campfire Project was that I've got tired of men being put down, which was making the situation worse for women, because we're all together. If men aren't doing the right thing, if they're not feeling the best, the people who suffer from that are their wives, their community. And so to help men to be able to open up and share their stories meant that the recipients of that were going to be their partners. And that was one of the things when boys go from their rite of passage, they're taken away from the women. They're there with the men, and they learn what it is to step up into that role. We talk about not turning someone into the man, but helping them become a man, being the best version of themselves, because the man is competing. And we see it in some of our sporting stars. We see it in our politicians, a lot of our business people, executives. And we also see it in women, in some of the women as well, all trying to be the instead of being a. And if you're trying to be a man or a woman, who do you want around you? You want other men and women who are doing exactly the same thing. And that was why having the conversations we've had in the Campfire Project to start with were so easy and so respectful between the men and the women, because everybody was trying to be a man and a woman. As Scott said, he wants to be a man who is doing the best he can do. And that's the best that all of us can do. And when we do that, we're not criticising anybody else. We're not having fingers pointed at us. Yes, we needed Men Too. We needed Me Too and all those movements to point out the problems. But while you're pointing fingers, you're never going to be the solution to the problems. It's when we come together shoulder to shoulder and we share our stories and we share each other that we then fix those problems. We do it together. We don't do it separately. And
yes,
the handing out the socks, having those conversations, just taking it to the next level again.
I love that. And the hashtag We Together, I think that's absolutely brilliant initiative, as well as the Campfire Project and the Businesses Smiles. I think that's absolutely brilliant. And, I thought of the movie Happy Feet. Happy Feet was a hit here. And I actually know someone who worked on the animation of that here in Brisbane, a guy called Andy Monks. He won an Academy Award for Happy Feet, actually. And I was thinking, they say happy wives, happy lives. Well, I think happy feet, happy lives as well. So,
well, I'm just going to say thanks for that image, because now I've just seen Scott as a penguin wearing his socks on the snow. Thank you very much.
Hang on a sec, Alan. I'm going to grab that. As soon as that Shorty's not here, I'm going to, and you have to sit behind us while we're running from Evans Head to Lismore. I reckon Shorty's the penguin. So get a better internet connection, Shorty.
Yes,
and I know time's precious, but I want to encourage everybody to see the moment I met James Short, right? Because this relationship came from support and support only. For 2 years, we worked tirelessly together to actually be able to do what we do. In a world that is often mentioned as disconnected, I really want to challenge that. Connection can be made just by choosing to be a part of a community, by being part of a support network. Now, you've heard community mentioned so many times today, and it's the communities that bring us together. It's the communities that make a difference. You know, I'm working with a community of builders and tradies from around Australia at the moment, and like I sat there with 5 men last night talking about some really personal opportunities right now that they're all going through. And every single one of those guys is lighter because they've had a place to just express it, explore it, understand it through their own eyes. Yeah. Men, for me, right now, are amazing. I love how much we're learning to be better men. I'm so proud of the men in our society that are continually stepping up to owning themselves. Any tradies, any builders, I want you in the tool shed. Contact me. I want you in there. I want you to see what can be. I want you to have a growth mindset. I want you to see that we are here for one another. I want to talk and have the conversations that we need to have. I want you to understand about menstruation so we can love our women better. I want you to understand about does size matter because we're going to love each other more. Yeah, because we're worth it.
Yes.
And we want all the men and women to come and join us in the Campfire Project as well. Come in, sit to listen to some of the stories. The one-on-ones never go outside. The panel discussions, though, we do have a YouTube channel now, and they have been aired on a few radio stations as well. But the one-on-ones are kept very sacred because we protect the people who tell their stories. But anyone can come in, put their hand up, do a one-on-one. And once they've done a one-on-one, they can join the panel discussions as well. And if they happen to be a coach, then they can also post the things that they're doing as well, and we'll support them because they've shown respect to everybody by showing them who they are themselves. Anybody who's willing to step up and show who they are, we will then honour and look after as well and promote them. So anybody can come in and join us, with both men and women, and realise that men and women can have some beautiful, respectful conversations.
I love that. We've actually got Ken Kleinberg with us from San Diego. And in fact, I just interviewed Ken just previously on a podcast. He has the Patriot Fat Fighter podcast. And he says, just tuning into this, totally tuning in at the last part. But I love what you guys are doing right here. And I love the message that you guys are bringing across. Thank you, Ken. Great to see you there all the way from America. Loving what you're doing. And I'm sure he would also love to check out Campfire Project and the Business of Smiles. I'm sure he'd be totally aligned with that. And everyone else who's watching this on Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube, wherever you're watching this, we've got a whole lot of links there in the chat for you. I put the link in of how Scotty met Shorty. Scotty met Shorty. I love all your little names.
And watch it right to the end and watch the almost heart attack at the end as well.
Okay, brilliant. So that's the link there. You'll see that link there. If people want to buy the socks, they can go to this link here in the chat. Okay.
Please help us on our mission.
Yes, so people can buy the socks. And the Campfire Project, just on Facebook there, Alan?
Well, you can go straight to the website, which is thecampfireproject.com.au. Okay. And if they go to that, they can then see the videos that explain what the one-on-ones are like, what the panel discussions are like. Then they hit the Facebook button on that, and it'll take them into the group page.
Okay, thecampfireproject.com.au. There it is. I'll just pop that link in there as well. Here we go. Now we've been chatting for over an hour. We could just keep on chatting. I love this. I love this conversation. However, we do need to wrap up. I've got other things also to get done today. So, is there any final words you'd like to share before we do wrap up today? Either of you,
Papa?
maybe.
Yeah, I'd just like to just remind everybody that no matter what you're feeling, you're worth it. You're worth more than what you think you're worth. You're actually more value than what you think you actually have. The more that you're willing to spend time with others, you'll find that. You won't find it on your own. You'll find it in collaboration, in connection with other people, because everything is about the connection, as Scott was saying.
Yes, beautiful. Thank you, Papa. And Scotty, over to you. Final words.
Nobody ever makes a decision to make the wrong decision.
Mm.
What's important is to understand why they made the decision and how they came to that conclusion. Then you can find some answers. People are amazing. And I really want to thank you for doing your best right now.
Yes, thank you for doing your best right now. Absolutely. And, I'd like to say, I'd just like to bring your attention here to Dr. Hawkins' scale of consciousness. We were chatting about this before we went live today. Now, it is scientifically proven that we are all human vibrators, okay? We are all vibrating at different frequencies, okay? And this proves it, okay? This is Dr. Hawkins' scale of consciousness right here. And you are either expanding or you're contracting. If you have a close look at this here, you can see you're either at love and above or you're at fear and below. And this all ties in with your chakras, which is all, again, scientifically proven, your energy centers in your body. And so when you are feeling feelings of love, of joy, of gratitude, of peace, enlightenment, these feelings will uplift you and make you feel better and have a greater experience of life. When you are down here in fear, anger, sadness, grief, guilt, shame is the lowest vibration. If you have any shame in your life, you're vibrating at 20 hertz. Guilt is 30 hertz. Fascinating, absolutely fascinating. That diagram is featured in the top of the global, the Conscious Community Global Facebook page, which is actually linked here. You'll see it also on my link tree as well. In Conscious Community Global, have a look in there. There's some life-changing documentaries that blow your mind, and they will definitely help you own your story, own your power, own your life to have the best experience of life that you can possibly have, as we've heard here today, to dig deep, to go to those deep places, to embrace your story and embrace the stories of others and fully be present and share the magnificence of this tapestry of life that we live, this amazing life that we have the privilege to share together. There are no coincidences in this world. There's no coincidences we're here together. There's no coincidences that you're watching this right now. You are absolutely here for a reason. And if you've been moved at all by what you've seen here today, then please support the business of Smiles. Please hop along there, purchase a pair of socks for $20. It'll be enable things to be paid forward. Pay forward a pair of socks, which could actually help save a life. You could help save a life, and you'll definitely put a smile on someone's dial, which is absolutely worth the $20, right? Absolutely worth it. And it's been an absolute privilege to host this interview today, and I could just keep on listening. I've absolutely loved it. And we do have the Global Good News Challenge on at the moment as well, up until the 8th of August. I challenge you to actually share gratitude and good news on a live video, to actually get over yourself, get on camera. You don't have to have perfect makeup or anything like that. For guys as well, some guys wear makeup. You never know nowadays. Okay, whatever it is that does it for you, you don't have to have, the bells and whistles. Just show up, be yourself, share authentically from the heart. I really do believe that authenticity is the new currency, and people are wanting that connection. They're wanting to be seen, to be heard, to be known. And here's your chance. Global Good News Challenge, absolutely free. We will also share your challenge. It's just sharing gratitude, good news. All the details are pinned to the top of the Global Good News Challenge Facebook page right here. Just go facebook.com Good News Challenge. You will see all the details pinned there. And everyone who completes the challenge for August, we will actually gift you a free ticket to the Free Publicity Secrets Masterclass worth $197 Australian. Absolutely brilliant. And also celebrating Good News Day this year. It's actually the 4th annual Good News Day. We started the first one on the 8th of the 8th, 18. So 8th of the 8th. Coming up in just 6 days, we've got the Good News Day for this year as well, and a chance to share your good news. So grateful to be with you. Any final words, Papa or Scotty?
Yeah.
Any final
words? Just on the chart you showed before, shame at the bottom. As
Yes.
Scott was saying before, nobody goes out of their way to make a decision that they knew was wrong. There's a lot of things in my life I regret, but there's absolutely nothing that I have any shame for. If you're using the word shame in your life, ask yourself, the thing that you're supposed to be shameful of, did you do that deliberately? Or was it, if it was, because shame is about the person, regret is about the thing itself. I regret a lot of things in my past, but there's nothing I'm shameful for. If I gave one of those things I regret the name shame, I could never fix it. and I'd be stuck with it for the rest of my life. So if you're using the word shame, ask yourself, was it something you deliberately did, or just something that you were feeling regretful about that you would have liked to have not happened? Did you go out of your way to create it, or did it happen because you made the decision with the best information you had at the time? So that's one word. Every time I hear people say they've got shame, that's when I do start asking a lot of questions, because I want them to understand, is it shame or is it something else? Because name it what it is. If it's not shame, don't give it that name, because you're going to be stuck with it.
Yes, I love that. Be very careful with how we word things. And in fact, with Ken Kleinberg, we were talking about weight loss versus weight release, because no one likes to lose anything, right? So we subconsciously, when we say weight loss, we actually stop ourselves from losing the weight. And Ken's got another beautiful comment here. I love that long pause before Scott answered. That was very thought out. Love it. I thought you froze for a second there, Scott, actually, with that long pause. I thought, oh, is he frozen on screen? But it was that power of the pause with public speaking. Right?
Yeah, well, I was watching him, and I was about to jump in and let you know that he hadn't frozen. I could see a few bits of movement in the forehead there, so the thought was there.
I think that's very timely, right? Why don't we pause and take our time before we respond?
Yes, beautiful.
Because you're going to get a much more authentic, much more thought out result when we do. And I really hope I get to connect with you. I really hope that somehow, if you're watching this, I get the opportunity to meet you. It fills my heart. I know it'll fill yours. You can feel me when I speak. I want to meet you.
Yes, I can absolutely feel you, Scotty. Thank you so much. And, with media, it's interesting because there's this thing called dead air in media with radio interviews and things like that. So they actually discourage pauses in radio interviews and podcasts. However, we are on an online TV here, so people can see you. So it's a little bit different here today. And also with public speaking, it's very, very powerful to pause. Absolutely. And I love how thought out your answers have been, and how deep you have shared with us. Both of you have shared with us today. It's been such an honor and privilege to be with you both, to share this space. And I really thank you so much, from the bottom of my heart to the bottom of your heart and the top of my heart as well. And here's to sharing more smiles in the world. And what is it that makes you smile? And how can you bring more joy into your life?
Put that in the comments. What makes you smile? I want to know. Put it in the comments.
What is it that makes you smile? What is it? This is a little finger puppet. This is really cute. This makes me smile. This is so cute. This I got at a little Amanda Gore presentation years and years ago, a little finger puppet smiley dude. So what is it that makes you smile? Do more of that, more to bring you joy. As Gandhi says, be the change you wish to see in the world. And as I say, shine bright and light up all those around you. Thank you so much for joining us today on Media Queen TV. Please support these amazing guys here, Campfire Project, Business of Smiles. Check out all the links. Check that video out. And hopefully we'll be able to catch up with our missing third person here today, fourth person, I should say. With a Shorty. Hopefully we'll catch up with Shorty another time. Shorty's missing in action only because of some tech issues, but hopefully we'll catch up again with him soon. And we know he's been here in spirit with us. So thank you so much.
He's definitely worth knowing. He's like one of the things, and I'm sorry I'm going over and I'm talking again, but if you want to see how to communicate, you want to learn how to communicate, watch the way Shorty and I talk to each other. Watch the way that every Wednesday night, we do a live inside the Campfire Project, the Business of Smiles, and we talk and we listen and we share our lessons, our pain, our opportunities. Sometimes it's not about talking. Sometimes it's about just listening. If you want to see how to communicate, how two guys can sit and learn each other and have such a close connection and never actually meet and then finally meet, it's because we took the time to communicate properly. I encourage you. I actually accept the challenge. I challenge you to watch the way we communicate. Giddy up.
Yeah. Okay. I take on the challenge. It is time for the Global Good News Challenge. So that's good news for me. I look forward to checking that out. And absolutely, you know, we are human beings, right? We're not human doings or human havings. We're human beings. And so how are we being in every moment? And sometimes being without saying anything is incredibly powerful, and listening and really connecting with someone is a beautiful thing. Thank you so much once again. Congratulations for your amazing work. I love what you're both creating. It's absolutely brilliant. And the ripple effect of that, I'm sure, will be massive out there. So congratulations. And thank you so much for your time here today. And for those joining us, please let us know in the comments what you've got out of this interview today. What's maybe one action you're going to take moving forward? It may be a way that you're taking on being in your life rather than actually doing something, actually being a certain way. So please share with us in the comments and share the love, and subscribe to Media Queen TV if you haven't already. There's 800 plus inspiring videos in there. So I look forward to connecting with you again soon. Have a beautiful day or night. Until next time. Bye for now.